Hey guys, welcome back to the Humanitarian. Today is May 25th, 2018. If many of you don't know, today Noblesville West Middle School had an active shooter in the building, as well as the entire district, as far as I'm well informed, was on a code red. I was at the Noblesville High School. I would just like to first start off and say thank you so much to every single administrator, every single early respondent, any and everybody who helped today. I feel like we talk crap sometimes about the administration when we don't have a tour delay or something, but I couldn't have asked for somebody to take care of today's situation any better. I also want to say something about the Alice drills. I always thought that they were kind of stupid. I feel like living in Noblesville, we live in this bubble and we think, oh, that'll never happen to us, but it happened to us today, and people keep saying that, but it's just like, when you're sitting there in the high school and you just are like, you feel so powerless, it's like, shit, this is happening. And I can't even begin to tell you, like, today was just like the weirdest roller coaster of emotions. And I also just want to say to the family and close people, to the people who were victims of the shooting, I really hope that everything is a smooth recovery, and I hope that as a community we can come together and to give you guys anything that you need to help out. Not that this is like a little plug, but I really hope that I can orchestrate something to help you guys and work with so many people in the community and really come together as a community to really impact you and to provide value to your family, and just to say sorry that this happened, and I'm sorry that this is the kind of society that we live in, and let's stop saying we should do something and actually hecking do something. I'm so sick and tired of saying let's do something and not doing anything, and I will be the first person to raise my hand and say I could have done something else. I've recorded a couple podcasts about that to try to raise some awareness about some solutions or some points, or maybe taking a look at the other side's perspective. But there's always more that you can do, and let's take this as an opportunity to really do something. As always at the Humanitarian, start local. Building strong communities is the foundations of a strong nation. If we have strong communities building our nation, then we will have a strong nation, because we can stand together and we will be there for one another. I also want to say that if you do not know who Don Wettrick is, first of all, follow Don Wettrick. Duh. Second of all, check out his podcast. I think he has something really great to say, and I think that this is a realistic solution to enacting some real change, and I would love to see Noblesville High School be a guinea pig for this, and to really take action and just try it out. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If it's a shit show, we can stop at second semester, but if we just keep standing around and hoping and praying that something's gonna change, then nothing's gonna ever change. So that leads me to my next point. I kind of want to talk to you guys today about some of the things that I think will really dramatically impact these types of events, school shootings. Right now the statistic is that once a week, literally a week from today, there was a shooting at Santa Fe. I'm pretty sure a couple people were injured, but it's just crazy. And it's like, I saw this post today on Facebook, and it was like, this is how many days since Columbine, this is how many days since Parkland, this is how many days since the Las Vegas shooting. And it's like, when are we going to wake up and realize that this isn't a gun control issue? This is a societal issue. And I think another great point that Don brings up in his podcast, it's like 7 minutes, so check it out, I'll link it below, is we can't stand on opposite sides of the court and point fingers, because, I mean, kind of getting into one of my points, we need to be together as a community, and we need to stand up as a community, and we need to really truly just be there for one another. And I think that Don's solution is fantastic. Teaching kids to be there for one another and to get out of their cliques and to step away from these cliches and to really take action, I think is like such a huge value that this kind of thought and solution could bring to Noblesville communities and communities across the nation. So today, as it was happening, when I was sitting in the book room today with 60 other students, just like hoping that everything was going to be okay, my mind immediately just was thinking and reflecting on the thing that was happening right in front of my eyes, and just instantly my brain hopped into like solution mode, I guess. And like this, it's like, it's sad, but I feel like it just broke the camel's back for me. Like, I'm done talking about it. I don't ever want to be in this kind of situation ever again. I think something, like when it first started happening, I kind of was having like flashbacks to my junior year last year. There was shooting threats because of shit that happened on social media, which is another one of Don's points. And there was a school shooting, or there wasn't a school shooting, my bad. There was threats that there was going to be a school shooting, and I was just a mess that day. I couldn't stop crying, and it was because the Monday before the Thursday that it happened, I remember this very clearly, I had just the most explicit and like intense dream that we were going to have a school shooting. And like, then I wake up Thursday morning and my friend texts me screenshots of this kid who's threatening to shoot up the school, and I just like fall to my knees, and I'm like why is this happening? And like, why is this the world that we live in? And I wasn't in the mindset that I am now as a junior, but that just totally, like, for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, I just like, I didn't even know what to do with myself. Like, I was just questioning like everything, and I was just like, who am I? And like, why did I have that dream? And like, why did it like come true? And it was just really crazy weird. And today I just was like, right when it started happening, like we went on Code Orange, and Don couldn't get in contact with his daughter, and I was just like, I like just started crying because I was like, it was so much. It was like the flashbacks, kind of like emotions came back from last year, and then I was like, it's happening again, and I'm just like, I can't do this. But then I pulled through, and I kind of felt like in that situation, I needed to be clear of mind, and I needed to be able to think clearly, because if something was going to happen, I didn't want to be in a wreck. I wanted to be thinking clearly, and I wanted to be alert at everything that was happening, because I didn't want anything to happen to me, and I didn't want anything to happen to anybody that I was near. And I wanted to be able to just be a strong kind of support for the people around me. And I'm so glad that everyone that was around me was okay. And I'm just glad that it was shut down like that. And oh my gosh, I mean, I feel like it goes without saying, but Jason Seaman is like a freaking hero. Just the most selfless act I've heard in a really long time. And it's just really great that he just took it upon himself to put himself before others, and truly showed what it means to be a community leader and to be a teacher. I think it really redefines some of those roles, and it's really shitty that we have to talk about this, and now we can't say anymore that school's a safe place. Like, we can't put that little yellow sign in a school because it's like taboo almost. But just props to Jason, and I'm so glad that you and the kid who got shot, I'm so glad you guys are recovering. But I do want to dive into some of the things that I think are solutions. So when that first shooting threat happened my junior year, Bill Kinley, he was my English teacher, and we talked about it a lot because it really hit me hard. And he talked a lot that year about culture of fear, because he also ran into an issue where like he felt like there was just this fear in the community. And I mentioned that on Facebook today, and these ideas of clear backpacks and metal detectors at school, it really does just implement this culture of fear. And there's this TV show called The Fosters, and I think it's probably a 2-part, like 2 episodes, but there's a school shooting in that TV show, and they get metal detectors and they spend the money, and then the principal realizes that she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off trying to protect her students, but the metal detectors weren't the answer. And I think that that's such a perfect example of why these kinds of things aren't going to work. It's not about that. It's really about society, and it's about taking away this culture of fear and using it as a enabling tool. So I think that this is the first step, is just I think acknowledging that we have a culture of fear, 12-step program, acknowledging that there's this culture of fear, and that it's something that needs to be changed. The next thing is, it sounds really cliche, but spreading love and just not encouraging hate. And on social media, especially, it's like it's almost cool to be negative and be like, oh, I hate my life, I want to kill myself, and totally not being insensitive to people who are actually suicidal and depressed. But and I'll raise my hand and take accountability for the times that I jokingly say those things. I'm not going to pretend here and sit here like I'm a saint. I do make jokes, and I think that this is definitely something that I'm going to take into consideration before I open my mouth and stop saying that, because it's just like, it's shitty. I shouldn't say that. There are people who truly think about killing themselves, and I'm making a joke of someone, like a life that's lost. So that's definitely something that I'm going to take a look at, but like not making a joke of it, and acknowledging that we live in a society of fear, and we are fueled by the fear of government and fear of the unknown, and just so many things. So not encouraging negativity on social media, and acknowledging a culture of fear. I feel like this next topic is kind of taboo, but I think that it's so important, and I can't not talk about it. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm not an anthropologist, but I can observe behaviors. I recognize things, and I can point things out, and I can call BS. And I think that we're not addressing mental health in this country. Suicide and depression is like almost taboo, and it's almost this like this thing you just say, and like it's a meme, or it's a vine, or it's a joke, and it's like it's not a joke. It's something that's really serious, and something that needs to be addressed. And something like that is so like infiltrated in this concept of mental health is people being so invested in themselves, invested in their social media, and being invested in like them, just being invested in themselves, and not thinking of others, and being so stressed out, and everything that comes out of their mouth is me, myself, and I. And we're not worried about the kid who's sitting across from us who has to pay the bills. There's somebody in my class that I've talked to before that has to work and to pay his rent because his family isn't doing that. It's not his parents aren't providing, and it's just really shitty. And he shouldn't have to do that. He's 18 years old. That shouldn't be his worries. That his worries should be going to college, or going to trade school, or working hard for something that he enjoys. And it's just really awful that he doesn't have the opportunity to be a teenager, be a kid. Having real relationships, having real deep conversations with people, and really getting to know somebody, and not just having these surface level kind of mediocre conversations with people, because it's too time consuming, or you don't get to talk about yourself enough. And I make a lot of jokes about like me. I love talking about myself, but that's not always the case, and that's not how it should be. And I think that's a huge issue, is this entitlement and this just like extreme narcissism for like everybody. And I've said throughout this whole video, like, I'll be the first person to admit to doing these things sometimes, or starting with the man in the mirror, Michael Jackson. So the last one, I feel like it's really cliche, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, like, just like loving one another, and like the people who your best friends, like truly just like being there for them and being there for people when they most need it, and recognizing other kids who sit alone at lunch or in the classroom when they aren't like with a group of table, like on the first day of school when everyone sits down in their seats if they're not assigned and this kid doesn't have a seat. It's like, go sit with them. Like, stop worrying about what other kids think, because the minute that you leave high school, nobody gives a shit. Nobody does. It's not important. And if you gave so many cares about what other people think, that's another issue, is like nobody really cares. And if you do care, they have their own problems. They have a lot of problems. If you truly care about what other people are doing and it impacts you and like you're so consumed by other people's actions, that's a whole other problem. That's a whole other episode. So, of course, the last thing we're going to talk about is guns, and this is just people's backbone argument for gun legislation. And I'll say it once, and I've said it once, and I'll say it again. If we sit down and we bow down to our government and we beg them to make legislation, like, where does that stop? At what point do we have to say, no, we're going to take accountability as a community, as a society, and we're going to take matters into our own hands, and we're going to implement change within our society and create a better community for our kids, and create a better community for our adults, and create a better community where we're all growing and learning together, and there's something for everyone, and I don't think that it's that hard to achieve, and I think it starts with something small, and then it just snowballs. So at the farmer's market, if you've never been, go to the farmer's market. There's people there that play live music. There's people there that sell things for a good cause. There's people that you don't even know that live down your street that might have a foundation. I don't know what it is, but be more involved in your community and be more aware of the people in your community. So I think that being educated about guns is the first step, and I think that knowledge is the ultimate power, and I think that not knowing about it makes you ignorant and scared, and then the fear and the culture of fear really takes over when you're just ignorant about a gun. And through this whole thing, like, my biggest pet peeve has just been people want to stand up on a podium and scream and shout and say this and that about guns. They don't know anything about guns. They know nothing. And it's so frustrating to sit there and to listen to these people talk and run their mouth. And it's like, I want to hear from people who are knowledgeable about guns. And if you're going to make an argument about banning them, you better know your shit. Also, if you have a gun in the home, it's your job. It's your responsibility to teach your kids that, one, it's not a toy. It is not a toy at all. It's not for you. If you give your kids a gun because they like to hunt or whatever your situation is, it's your responsibility as the parent to teach your kids the proper way to use that gun and the proper way to take care of that gun. If you have a gun in the home and your kid knows jack shit, and I'm talking if it's 3 years old, it doesn't need to know anything about a gun, but if you have a 13, 14, 12-year-old in the house, I mean, heck, if your 8-year-old's curious about it, why don't you just go ahead and teach him? Maybe the first step is showing them how you clean the gun. And when they get a little bit older, you can be like, okay, well, this is like how we store the guns, and this is how we take care of it and make sure that it's safe. And then maybe teach the kid like how to load a gun, and like progressively throughout the kid's life, so there's not this weapon in their home that they're just oblivious to how it works, and like what the purposes of it are, and teaching them that this isn't a toy. And also, I think something that's really important, and I feel like is kind of a joke to some people, is this: life isn't a video game. You can't kill somebody and they come back. That's not how it works. It's just not. You can't shoot someone in a video game, and I think subconsciously, and there's a lot of studies that show that these shooting games and these violent games subconsciously leave an impact on these kids' heads and these kids' brains. And I think that it's really important that we need to address this. And I think that I can really safely say that. And the year that our Constitution was created in, the Second Amendment was written that we have the right to bear arms. I can safely say that I think almost everyone in America had a gun. And if you're scared of guns, if you don't want to have a gun, that's your right not to have a gun. But don't make it not my right to not have a gun. It's my right to own a gun, and it's my right not to own a gun. You can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, and it's not your right to take that away. And I think that the more knowledgeable you become about a subject, and the more that you know, I think that it makes you more easy about it. And I think that even if you just learned something new about guns, and you understood where other people were coming from, and you were able to kind of take off your pride hat, and you were able to sit down and have a real conversation with people from the NRA or other gun owners or whoever, I think that your perspective might change a little bit, and you could see the other side and be able to kind of have this well-rounded idea of what's really going on. So the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is a solution. So I have seen a couple things on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, all kinds of stuff, and I think that we need to have a little convention slash event. I don't really know what to call it, but I think that we should have a gathering. I think that we should have people come speak. I think we should have like anthropologists come out. I think we should have psychologists come out. I think we should have representative from the NRA. We should have people from the Children's Bureau to come talk about home life, and we should have Noblesville Police Department, and we should have Beth Niedermeyer come out. We should have so many people come out and just speak for 20 minutes about these different elements that are all coming together into this one issue of school shootings, and how recognizing that there's this problem is the first step. And I think that there are so many things being said on both sides. So just bring those sides together. We need to have a conversation about this. We need to have a honest, non-heated discussion. And I think that if people get heated and people start getting angry, I think that those people need to be excused from the event. But I think that we also need to take this time to have the whole community come out and to heal as a community from this event. And on top of all of that, we need to have a fundraiser while we're there to help these victims pay for their medical bills and their recovery if they have PT. That stuff's really expensive, and I think that as a community, it's our job to come together and support people who have been victimized in a situation, in a crisis like this. So if you're interested in helping with this, if this seems like something that's right up your alley, please leave me a message below. Please send me an email. That'll be down there too. I'd be happy to meet with you. I'd be happy to talk with you, but if we're going to do something, we need to do it now. And I think the first step is acknowledging that there's a problem, and the second step is doing something about it. And I think doing something about it is to have an open conversation as a community, and to have experts in these fields come out and speak about these issues, and speak about how there are kids who are being disserviced in their homes, and speak about how we need to be educated about guns. Can really make a difference. And heck, we can bring people together with food. So we can get anyone to come out if there's free food, right? So if this is something that interests you, I would love nothing more than to chat with you and to facilitate something. So definitely leave me a message. So definitely leave me a message below, send me a DM, message me on Facebook, whatever's good. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. This isn't really my normal length of episode, and I usually don't post videos on Fridays, but I feel like the time was to speak now, and I felt really moved by the situation, and I hope that you guys take something away from this, and I hope that something happens. I hope that the ball's rolling on something, whether it's Don's idea and his podcast being enacted. It's whatever solution it is, but there's something that needs to be happening. And if something's not working, don't be afraid of failure. If something is just not working, shut it down and try something different. And we can't be afraid of money or looking stupid, because people's lives are at risk, and that's a serious thing. And I think that living in an economy-driven world, things like money and things like what people think of us influence decisions. And I think it's kind of a wake-up call for Noblesville community, and hopefully the rest of the world is starting to get this wake-up call for places that haven't experienced things like this. And I'm so glad that there hasn't been more than there has been, because there's one too many kids dead, or one's too many, if I could speak English. So I really hope that there's something that comes of this, and I really just want to thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see what happens. So yeah.